Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today on Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gill. I've been looking forward to this interview for 2 weeks now. We're going to speak with Henry Nuxoll. He's from Comstock Windmill Festival. He is the originator of festivals in Nebraska and across the Midwest. Henry, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I don't say I was the originator of them all, but one's enough.
You were the OG. Henry, give us a little background on you. Where'd you grow up and talk a little bit about your career up until the ownership of Comstock?
Well, both my parents immigrated from Germany, so I'm a first generation Nebraskan over here. My dad was too young to fight for Hitler, and he immigrated here when he was 21. My mom was in Germany during World War II in Dresden, and she missed the bombing of Dresden by about a half a day. So I was lucky to be born.
You were definitely here for a purpose. Absolutely, absolutely. Tell us about your career a little bit.
Well, my dad come over here and earned a couple farms, and that's all he wanted to be, and that's all I wanted to be. But unfortunately, when I started farming in my early age, I did it during the 80s when we had 18% interest and land devaluation, which made it impossible for a young guy to start or to keep going. I did that for about 10 years. Then I thought I better take a day job, and I wanted to be a salesman for one particular implement. And next thing you know, I was representing 10 companies at 25 farm shows in about 10 states. So I did that for about 10 years. But in between time, as a hobby, I started collecting windmills. And I started with one, and then I went to two, and then it ended up being 50 standing windmill collection, which would have been one of the largest in the world. Then I figured out that costs money and it takes time. So then I invented the Windmill Festival.
Where did your
I
where did
started,
you yeah, where did your idea for a festival come from?
well, it was conceived as an idea to generate funds to support the collection of windmills and homestead house that I moved in and a country school. And that's always been my passion, my twin brother's passion to preserve history. And I figured, well, you got to support this hobby one way or another. So I thought you could make money running a festival, but I was kind of wrong there. I
I was
lost
gonna
more than I own.
I was gonna say I've know people that have talked about festivals, and those first couple of years are rough. They actually lose money, but not in every case. So let's fast forward a little bit. Obviously, you got it to a point where it was successful, correct?
Yeah, it's always been very successful as far as the end user. We started with a rookie called Brad Paisley, nobody knew about, and he come back 3 times. And next thing you know, we got Keith Urban twice, we got Blake Shelton twice, Jason Aldean, Alabama, Dirks Bentley, Carrie Underwood. Considering I know absolutely nothing about music, I know 3 songs. Saving Big Money at Menards, Were You There When They Crucified My Lord? And In Heaven There's No Beer. I know nothing about music, but we pick them going up or we pick them going down. And it turns out in the last 23 years, we have had 25 CMA award winners. Over a 500,000 people come to a canyon surrounded by windmills near a town of Comstock, Nebraska, that does not exist on the 2020 Rand McNally map.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that
One
crazy?
thing led to two other, and it's the 100% customer and 100% star satisfaction that gets people coming back. There's nowhere in the world you can see the sunset on 50 windmills in a canyon with perfect sound, and at no VIP costs.
Yeah.
Everybody's treated the same there.
So how many days does this festival last?
It's 3 days, June 8th, 9th, and 10th this year.
Three days. And is there camping?
Yeah, we've got 2 full electrical campsites, and we've got primitive campsites.
Man,
We could fit a ton of people, but we've never been sold out. There's always room for one more.
there's always room for one more. I love that. So listen, let's talk about logistics. You're in the middle of Nebraska. You're down in the canyon. Where do you get all this power from?
Well, we bring in generators, and then we've got some local power that strings by it, but it takes generators in one campsite, and we got permanent power in the other, and then we got the old electric lines going back on the road. So
There you
we
go.
never
There
run
you
out
go.
of power either.
Now, do you have other events on site throughout the year or just this one?
We used to run about 3 events, country, rock, and Christian, but we're down to one country, the one we started with, and it's as good as ever.
Yeah.
We've got 10 Nashville acts this year, and then we throw in bull riding.
Oh
And
my
our
gosh.
3-day passes aren't whole over $100 for the best seat in the house.
That's
So 10 Nashville acts and extreme bull riding. We've got food vendors and various people to entertain you along the line. Plus, we got rock and beer tents that go till 1 o'clock in the morning.
There you go. There you go. All right, let me ask you this question because this is obviously it's a lot of work. It's been lucrative for you, and I understand that, but it's still a lot of work. Describe for us a couple of just like 2 moments that really stand out, that feed you, that energize you, that warm your heart, that say, this is what I was born to do. This is what I'm going to continue to put on for my state.
Well, I haven't made enough money to buy a pair of shoes out of this thing in the last 23 years, but there is something really incredible of watching people have the best time of their life, and that includes the fans, and it includes people like Dan and Shay that said this is the best venue they ever performed at, from one end to the other. And if stars didn't like it, they would never come back. But when you get the big boys come back 2 or 3 times in a row, that means that venue is worth coming. And when you get 4 gals from California fly to Omaha and rent a camper 4 times in a row, that means it's worth coming from a long ways.
Yeah.
Comstock itself has got 100 people. We've got 2 businesses, a pop machine and a Swan's truck guy every 2 weeks. Our post office is so small that they're thinking of taking 2 numbers off our zip code. We don't need turn signals because everybody knows where you're going. We don't need campaign posters because everybody knows who you're voting for. But it's 100 good people, and that's what would fit on our stage, the entire stage, and that's where we base this festival out of, the Comstock Windmill Festival.
Man, that is spectacular. Henry, I always ask these 2 questions in every interview. Number 1, what is the best concert? What is the best performer you've ever seen your entire life?
Probably a 3-way tie since we had Paisley here 3 times, but Alabama was just fantastic, and Brooks and Dunn was just fantastic. The canyon was full, the sound was perfect, the atmosphere was great. Alabama and Brooks and Dunn probably knocked down the house.
Perfect. Okay, you could bring 1 act, dead or alive, to Comstock. Who you bringing?
Well, it would have to be from the dead, and we really never die. We just go to a different place, either heaven or hell.
Yes, sir.
When people die, the first thing they do is ask St. Peter, is heaven going to be as much fun as Comstock? But my most favorite would have to be Chris Ledoux, and the reason being is he talked to me a half hour after his performance, he told me, Henry, I love your place because every festival I go to, you got the VIP seats where the rich bees sit and they politely clap. And then you got empty white seats because there wasn't enough rich people, and you pin my true fans in the back. And he said, I love your place because you treat everybody the same. They can sit wherever they want, bring in their lawn chairs. And he rebooked Comstock the week after the festival. And in March, when I got 5,000 posters of him and Keith Urban as that year's headliners, was the day that he died.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's pulling up there in heaven for us, and we're getting this fine son, Ned, back this year with 10 of the best young acts we've ever had in Comstock in 23 years.
There you go.
So
there you go. Henry,
how do
people find out more about Comstock Windmill Festival? How can they make plans for this summer?
Well, it's as simple as a website. It gives us all the performers. It's the cost of camping. It's everything you need to know about the Windmill Festival. And that's the Comstock Windmill Festival.com. It's easy to remember, Comstock Windmill Festival.com.
Very good. Very good. Henry, thank you so much for being on with us today. I appreciate it.
You bet. We appreciate the opportunity.
You betcha.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine.